Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we'll create a table and then we'll insert values by using the different SQL queries. Okay, first we need to import our SQLite 3 module. So for that, we use the import statement, import SQLite 3. Then we have to make a connection to our database and pass in the database name. If the database does not exist, it will create one for us. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. SQLite 3 dot connect and then empty parenthesis, name of our database. Let's name it student, and then it has the extension database. So SQLite 3.connect student.database. So once we make a connection to our database, we pass the database name. And if this database name does not exist, it will create one for us. Good. Let's go ahead. And I can save this to an object. So let's say I have a database object. So I can save this in my object database, right? And once I save this, I can perform different operations easily. Let's go ahead. So I can say database dot execute, open parenthesis, encode, drop table if exists. So that's another query, drop table if exists, and then name of our table, grades. So what this will do is it will drop the table named grades if it already exists. If it doesn't exist, it won't do anything. So we use the execute to perform various functions in database programming. Okay. Now, once we have dropped this grades table, and a database, by the way, contains hundreds and thousands of tables. Okay, next we need to create this grades table, right? For that, I can use db.execute, open parenthesis, create table grades. Create table named grades, right? And then it takes, that table will have, let's say, 3 columns. Integer, ID column, name column, and score columns. So you will have ID, and then name, and then score. So my grades table will contain these 3 columns. And I have to specify what kind of values it will hold. So my ID column will hold integers, my name column will hold text values, and my score column will hold integers. Good. Now, next thing we need to do is save those changes. So database, initially we made a connection and create this database if it doesn't exist. Then drop a table called grades if it exists. And then we created a new table called grades and then have these 3 columns. So we need to save those changes, right? And we do those by using the commit statement. So database.commit. Now, if I run it, and if once you run it and don't get any errors, that means this change is good. So it's committed. Whatever we did here, it's committed. Great. Now I can say, okay, once I have that, let me go ahead and say database that execute. And then now I'm going to insert some values in my table named grades. So to do that, I use the insert statement. So database that execute. Then I can say insert into my table named grades, right? What am I inserting? ID, name, and score, right? So I'm inserting those three values, those three fields, and values are as follows. Values, let's say for ID, it takes integer, right? Let's say 95. For name, let's say John. And for score, let's say 97, right? Okay. So this will create one row in my grades table. And it will have ID as 95, name as John, and score as 97. To make it simpler, let me start with ID 1. Let's say ID 1. Okay. And then let's create some more rows. I can have database that execute. Again, insert into grades. What am I inserting? ID, name, score, and then insert these values. ID 2, name, let's say Smith, and then grade, let's say 100. Good. So once we have these two rows, let's make a commit so that our change is saved. So let me come down here and say database that commit. Then run that, no error. That means the information is updated. Now let's store the above result in some variable. Let's say I have a variable named results, and that's equal to, let's say, database that execute, and then I can say select star from grades, and then order by ID, for instance. So database that execute, select star from grades, order by ID. This just means select everything from my grades table and then order it by ID. So I'm storing that in a variable called results. And then I can perform some operations on this variable. For instance, I can say for row in results, right? I can simply print row and then run it. So I get here 2 rows, right? The first one is ID 1, person is John, grade is 97. Second one is ID 2, person is Smith, and grade is 100. Just means it's just the Unicode of the string John. Good.